In December 2024, in a boardroom in São Paulo, the Brazilian Football Confederation signed a document that had nothing to do with football. It was a 12-year extension with Nike, $100 million per year, plus royalties. The largest national team kit deal in the history of the sport. 6 months later, the CBF approved its 2026 fiscal budget. Projected revenue, 2.7 billion reais, $500 million. A single institution governing a single national team, generating the GDP of a small nation, and none of it, not one real of those 2.7 billion, depends on Brazil winning the World Cup. That is not a detail. That is the entire business model in a single sentence. This is not a story about Brazil trying to win its 6th World Cup. This is a story about what happens to a 2.7 billion real machine when the football stops, and who still gets paid. On June 14, 2026, Brazil takes the field for its opening match. The players chase a trophy. The CBF chases something else entirely, a financial activation event that has been 18 months in the making, priced into sponsorship contracts, broadcast agreements, and player valuations across 3 continents. To understand what is actually at stake in Brazil's 2026 World Cup, you need to understand 3 numbers. First, 2.7 billion reais, the CBF's projected revenue for this fiscal year. Second, 17%, the share of Brazilians who now say they have a strong connection to the national team, down from 56% in 1994. The Seleção has never been less popular and never been more profitable. Third, 15. The number of personal endorsement deals Vinícius Júnior carries into this tournament, each one with performance escalators tied directly to what happens between June 14th and July 19th. This is the audit. The Brazilian Football Confederation is not a sports federation operating a business. It is a financial institution that happens to organize football matches. In 2025, Brazilian clubs generated 15 billion reais in combined revenue, an all-time record. Their combined debt also hit an all-time record, $2.9 billion. Corinthians alone carries $445 million in liabilities. The clubs are balance sheet disasters, rolling debt forward year after year, surviving on player sales and television advances. The CBF has none of that exposure. It carries no stadium debt, no player wages, no transfer obligations. Its product, the Seleção, is an asset it owns but does not maintain. The clubs develop the talent. The European clubs polish it. The CBF monetizes it for 6 weeks every 2 years. Let that land for a moment. The entity that spends the least on player development captures the most value when those players wear the yellow shirt. The CBF's revenue architecture sits on 4 pillars: broadcast rights, sponsorships, match day revenue, licensing broadcast rights for World Cup qualifiers, and friendlies flow through the CBF, but those are baseline, predictable, stable, unremarkable. Sponsorships are where the geometry gets interesting. Here is a number that should stop you. The CBF's sponsorship portfolio, Nike, Itaú, Vivo, Guaraná, Antarctica, and the secondary partners, generated approximately 400 million reais in annual revenue as of the last disclosed cycle in 2017. That was before the Nike extension, before the 2026 World Cup on American soil, before Vinícius Júnior became the commercial face of Brazilian football. The current figure, adjusted for the new Nike deal and inflation, is projected to exceed 700 million reais annually, and every contract contains what the industry calls a performance modifier. Translation: if Brazil exits early, the money changes. To understand what performance modifier means in practice, you need to understand the Nike contract. Nike has been the CBF's kit supplier since 1996, 30 years. The December 2024 extension locks that relationship through 2038, $100 million per year, guaranteed, plus royalties on merchandise sales. But the guarantee is not the ceiling, it is the floor. Nike's internal modeling for Brazil's 2026 World Cup campaign assumes progression to at least the semi-finals. That assumption is baked into inventory projections. How many Brazil jerseys to manufacture? How many markets to activate? How many Vinícius Júnior signature boots to produce? If Brazil reaches the semi-finals, Nike's Brazil-related merchandise revenue over the tournament window is projected at $180 to $220 million. If Brazil exits in the quarterfinals, that projection contracts by an estimated 35 to 40%, $70 million in unrealized revenue. From one round of elimination, and Nike is just one sponsor. Itaú Unibanco renewed its CBF sponsorship in 2022. Vivo maintains a long-term telecommunications partnership. Guaraná Antarctica signed an 8-year extension in 2019, an 18-year relationship between a soft drink and a football confederation. These are not philanthropic arrangements. Each contract includes escalator clauses tied to tournament progression, brand exposure minutes, social media impression guarantees, broadcast reach thresholds. An early elimination does not trigger refunds, it triggers reduced renewal values. A quarterfinal exit in 2026 means the CBF walks into its 2027 sponsorship negotiations with weaker leverage, softer metrics, and less compelling data. The financial damage compounds. Now consider the player who sits at the center of this entire financial architecture. Vinícius Júnior carries 15 personal endorsement contracts into the 2026 World Cup. Adidas, PlayStation, Gatorade, Clear, Omo, Rexona, Marriott, and 9 more. His Adidas package alone contains a clause that increases his compensation by approximately 30% if he hits pre-agreed goals and assist thresholds during the World Cup, specifically in knockout stage matches. That is not a bonus. That is an incentive structure designed to align the athlete's performance with the brand's exposure window. Adidas is not paying Vinícius Júnior to score goals. Adidas is paying Vinícius Júnior to score goals when the global audience is 1.5 billion people. His Real Madrid contract negotiations are suspended, formally paused until after the World Cup concludes. His camp has reportedly sought a fixed salary of 30 million euros per year. Real Madrid has not agreed. The implicit understanding, his World Cup performance sets the final number. A deep tournament run, goals in the quarterfinal, the semi-final, the final, and his valuation hardens at 30 million. An early exit, a quiet tournament, and the number softens. The leverage shifts to the club. Vinícius Júnior is not playing for Brazil. He is playing for his own valuation as a commercial asset. The distinction is not subtle. The distinction is the entire modern football economy in a single sentence. Here is the arithmetic of elimination. The CBF has budgeted 2.7 billion reais for 2026. A quarterfinal exit does not erase that revenue, but it materially impacts the forward-looking numbers, the 2027 negotiations, the 2028 renewals, the 2030 World Cup cycle positioning. Nike loses an estimated $70 million in unrealized merchandise revenue. The secondary sponsors, ETU, Vivo, Guaraná, Antarctica, collectively face reduced brand exposure equivalent to approximately 200 million reais in media value. Vinícius Júnior's contract leverage softens. The difference between a 25 million euro salary and a 30 million euro salary over a 5-year contract is 25 million euros in lifetime earnings. That delta is determined by what happens in 90 minutes against a round of 16 opponent. The FIFA prize money is almost irrelevant to this calculation. Brazil winning the World Cup earns $50 million from FIFA. That is real money, but it is less than 10% of what the CBF generates annually. The trophy is a rounding error. The real asset, the thing being priced, packaged, and sold across every sponsorship deck and broadcast negotiation, is the narrative. The run. The moments that become marketing campaigns and renewal presentations. When Brazil loses early, the CBF does not lose a trophy. It loses the commercial narrative that funds its entire operation for the next 4 years. And here is the part no one says out loud. The players feel the loss as athletes. The CBF processes it as an impairment of intangible assets. The same institution that projects 2.7 billion reais in revenue has watched its cultural asset, the connection between the Brazilian people and the Seleção, deteriorate from 56% strong affinity to 17% over 3 decades. At some point, the commercial narrative and the cultural reality diverge. Sponsors pay for reach. Reach requires relevance. Relevance requires emotional connection. The CBF is monetizing an asset whose underlying cultural value is depreciating. Whether that depreciation shows up in the 2026 financial statements or the 2030 financial statements is the question only the next 45 days will answer. Brazil's 2026 World Cup campaign is an audit because the trophy is not the asset. The asset is the 2.7 billion real revenue machine that activates for 6 weeks every 4 years. The asset is the 15 endorsement contracts attached to a 25-year-old forward whose lifetime earnings will be negotiated in the tunnel between the pitch and the locker room. The asset is the Nike partnership that turns a jersey into a $100 million annual revenue stream, provided the team stays on screen long enough for the inventory to sell. Brazil plays for a trophy. The CBF plays for a renewal. Nike plays for a quarter. Adidas plays for a clause. Vinícius Júnior plays for a contract, and the 17% of Brazilians who still feel a strong connection to the Seleção, they play for something none of these institutions can price. The audit is complete. Meeting adjourned.